The following episode of the Maui Chamber of Commerce's Business Matters was originally broadcast on October 1st, 2024.
It's time now for Business Matters, brought to you by the Maui Chamber of Commerce. And now, here's your host, the president of the Maui Chamber of Commerce, Pam Toompop. Good morning, Pam. How are things on Oahu, Pam?
Well, it is a great day on Oahu, a little overcast this morning where I'm at, but and if you hear any traffic in the background, folks, I'm right near a small little boutique hotel called the Eclipse, but next to the main road on the way to Ala Moana. So a little bit of background traffic this morning, but another beautiful day in Hawaii.
It's always a beautiful day.
It's always a beautiful day. How's everything in Wailuku, Gary?
Still hot and muggy, and I'm waiting for fall to kick in.
Oh my gosh, I know. I'm ready for that cooler weather too, and a little rain. I'd like a little green.
Yeah, a little bit of rain.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for all you do for our show to open us up and get everybody scheduled and ready. We truly appreciate it. And, the work Gary does also goes to podcasts. So the show is not only repeated from this morning on Tuesday to Wednesdays at 12:05.
Fridays at 12:05. Fridays.
Excuse me. Wednesday. You're right. Thank you, Gary. Friday, and he does great at correcting me when I'm misstep. It's Friday at 12:05, and then to podcast. So we hope you can tune in at a variety of levels. Just welcome everybody to the show. We're going to have a fun day this morning. We're going to talk to Council Member Yuki Sugimura this morning, and then we're going to hear from one of our amazing small businesses. We're going to be talking to She Would Go. We're going to be talking to Leinani Hong, who owns She Would Go, and it's going to be just a fun morning to hear from both of these dynamic ladies. But first, let me welcome Council Member and Vice Chair of the Maui County Council and Chair of the Budget and Finance and Economic Development Committee, Council Member Yuki Sugimura. We all know she holds the Upcountry residency seat and is doing amazing things. I do need to mention, since this is the political season and that she is running for office, that as part of her re-election campaign, we need to announce that this message is an in-kind contribution towards her campaign. It is valued at $175 and paid for by the Maui Chamber of excuse me, I said that wrong. Paid for by the Maui Chamber of Commerce, but under our Chamber of Maui Political Action Committee. And she is also an endorsed candidate of our Chamber of Maui Political Action Committee, which we shorten to COMPACT. So we are so glad to endorse her as part of a very dynamic team to help move Maui forward. So we are thrilled to have her on the show this morning. Good morning, Yuki. How are you?
Good morning, Pam. Great to be with you, and thank you very much. I appreciate it a lot.
Oh, it's our great pleasure. Always love having you on. Let's talk a little bit. I know that every time we talk, because we could go on, there's so many important things, and you're on the forefront as our council member who's leading the way on many different issues as budget chair. You've been very involved in really all of the issues as we're looking forward to how to move forward and looking, as we do that, at always the funding and the process to make it happen. But I would like to start with the attainable housing and rentals, since that's been a top priority for us for the past several years. And there's been so many forums and articles and studies that we've talked about to identifying barriers. But what do you think at the county? What do you believe are the three or more things we need immediately changed and are introduced to expedite housing?
So I always say that the county should do best what we do best. And what it is we should take care of infrastructure. And we rely on developers to do a lot of the aspects of their development that I think that the County of Maui can do, which is make sure that we have all of the sewer connections, the water, wastewater. That, of course, is a given, right? Even before you can go down that path of development.
Right.
But take care of the infrastructure things and own the land if we can, if it's available, and have a developer develop it. So two things, right? Make sure that we take care of the water and wastewater infrastructure needs and requirements. And then if we can, own the land and then have a developer partner with us. I believe in private-public partnerships to see if we can then drive down the cost of a house through that method by we being the landowner. And, that will then make houses more attainable and affordable. A example of this was what we did with the Wailuku when we did Atherton's project. We came up with a public partnership, right? And so that helped, drive some cost down for the affordable housing portion, not the market, but the affordable houses portion. And I do know that the county, we have 300 acres, which was designated to be for the Public Works Department in Waikapu. And that was supposed to be a base yard, right? So that now has been repurposed for 100 acres to be used for the Central Maui wastewater reclamation. The Central Maui wastewater reclamation facility. But what I put in the budget last year was of that 300 acres, 100 acres to use for affordable housing. And because we already own the land, that would be a good place for us to be, this concept of, us doing a private-public partnership with someone, move housing forward in that area. And I think
really agree. Yeah, it's a really great plan. And the other thing is, and I've been saying it in council hearings, is, and both to the county and to the state, that we need to, as land parcels go up, we need to be investing in the land that we need and cherish. We see so much hedge fund and investor investing and foreign investment and buying up huge parcels of land that, yes, they're going to require infrastructure, as you point out, but in some cases and others not. But we need to be investing the way they're investing in our loan land to keep it in the hands of the county or the state or local owners who are going to, or developers who are going to build housing projects.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, if you think about it, that model that I just talked about, then that's almost like Hawaiian homelands, right? So Hawaiian homelands, you build and you have a home, I think it's 99 years, but, the cost of the housing is driven down because the land is held, by the state, right? And it's that kind of concept, and the legislature passed a law which allows the county to take that kind of position. It's kind of like Nahaleo Maui. And I believe in that. It's just that because of our situation of how expensive housing is, that this will be like a model that we can do that, and it works, right? We see it with Nahale. Where people are moving in. I think I just went to their 55th or 50-something opening or a key exchange, I think they call it, with new landowners or new house for new families. And that kind of concept works, right? So in the past, everybody wanted to, own the land, and our position was very different, but our economy has changed. Our community has changed. The wildfire, added a whole big change in the way that we need to view what's happening in our community. So if we could do more of these private-public partnerships like that with developers, I believe that they're going to, they know how to build better than we do, honestly. right? When we do it by ourselves, the cost gets driven up tremendously, and it solves one problem where we have this attainable housing to a certain degree, but the county then takes a huge expense. So we're trying to figure out how we could save money and build houses.
Yeah, this is, you bring up a really important point. I mean, we've had a housing crisis for a very long time now, but in that time, with COVID and with the wildfires, the whole dynamics have changed. And I know I'm here in Honolulu, and I was at an event the other night, and after the event, there were people here from Oahu just asking me, aren't you worried that there's people are going to sweep in and try and be vultures and buy land cheaply in Lahaina from those who have been devastated? I mean, and what's wonderful to hear is the deep concern by people, all across the state. I hear this in a lot of places that I travel, where they're worried that our families are just going to, through frustration or, just exhaustion, sell their land very cheaply or have people take advantage of that. And, I'm letting them know about protections that are being put in place and how we're working to make sure that doesn't happen. But it's a whole different world now in terms of how we protect land for our future generations. So, it used to always be so our children can come home. And really right now, it's so our families who are here can even have a house. For many
we've had before, right?
As well. Yeah, so it's a whole new dynamic. And I'm glad you're on the forefront on it. You mentioned Hawaiian homes, and I'll just put out my pitch that I've been making of late. My son is part Hawaiian as well, and his father just now recently got on Hawaiian homelands after registering as when he was
wonderful.
Eligible to register. Yeah, but
so thank God. I mean, yeah, that's wonderful. That the legislature put in that $600 million for Hawaiian homelands.
Yeah,
and Maui got a fair share of it.
Yeah, which has been awesome, and he had just gotten land, and Habitat for Humanity helped him, build that house, which I'm just grateful to hear that he's gotten the house. But they have a lot of land, and they have expedited mission, and I think it's time that we also look at blood quantum issues, because if we want to retain our children home, we need to be looking at. This is a time where people, they waited, and there's a lot of people on the list. I understand we need to take care of that list first. But at a certain point, with the land and what's available and the expediting of houses, at some point, to take care of those who are Native Hawaiian and to help our children stay at home and be able to afford homes. I think that's another big piece of the picture that we need to look at with that program is how do we lower that blood quantum and start moving more people in and getting more of those homes built, because that's land that we have, and it's just about getting on with the building. So I think that there's a lot of great things that can be done there.
Yeah, that's a federal government issue, so let's charge forward on that. I think I've been hearing that for years.
Difficult,
but quantum level,
Well, and again, it's one of those things that at a different time and understanding how long the list was, we've just kind of waited, right? And said, well, do we need to reduce the blood quantum when there's so many people on the list? And understandably, that it was a big and continues to be a challenge. But I think, that as we continue to move forward, we need to look at those issues and get housing built, because it is an amazing program, as you mentioned, that will provide housing for those who qualify. And so I think we can keep working in that area too. The other thing with housing, of course, is there's now this issue with, again, with FEMA moving people into condotels to, really get families back together in a way where they could cook together and congregate together. not as ideal as housing, which we were trying to push for, in terms of being able to live and have their pets and space for kids to run and play in their own type of yards. But it was a measure that did move in a direction that was more helpful out of hotels to where the families could cook together. But now it's changed the dynamics of our market. Now we're back to reviewing the Minatoya list. Now, the possibility of converting, all of those units into apartments. So this has been used a lot of energy and excitement and frustration and anger on all sides as it was rolled out. And I know the council is looking at the study on this. Can you tell me, I know the study's still underway, and we know it's going to take some time. But how do you see the solution moving forward, and what ideas do you have for this, given, we've been looking at some of these reserve studies. I saw actually a court case, one of the condotels that had nothing to do with this issue, that simply had to do with property owners in a unit basically suing their own HOA for how they handled the direction in which they were going to have to maintain these units and assess, assessments on the property owners at very high levels to address the current renovation needs of these properties. So I'm just, with the wide array of dynamics on this, that could also lead to other lawsuits.
So I guess you can educate me about that lawsuit. I didn't hear about that.
Yeah, this is more internal, but it was said to me where it's the some of the condo units actually suing the HOA for how they were rolling out the process and charging people and how quickly they were charging people to do renovations, given, where things were at and the high level of assessments they were getting assessed, that were a hardship for the unit owners.
That's a whole nother problem.
That's a whole nother wrinkle, but something that, has been sort of touched upon, which was just, again, that there is a lot of back work that needs to be done on many of these units, and that the assessments coming forward may be really high. And then how do the unit owners pay for that? Is it financed over a long period of time? Are they going to have to put up a lot of that cash in the short term? And of course, those decisions are made currently by the HOA board, through, which is part of the structure of condominium ownership, right? That your board, comes up with a plan and educates all of the owners about that. But they have, under law, different ways that they are supposed to do required disclosures. And there is a formalization of the PRAPA. So that's kind of put in a new wrinkle for me, too. Like, whoa, okay, here's another avenue that I was aware of, I thought could be problematic, just tied up in, the question of, is this the best solution for what we're trying to achieve? Is it the right solution for what people need in terms of housing? And do we need all of these units? And then what was the intended use of these units? What were they truly intended to be from the get-go? Which is stuff I know you're looking at. The council has to look at all of this. So how are you feeling about this? How the timing of it and
so
the major concerns?
This bill that was introduced from the administration, short-term to long-term, and the number of sweeping units that it impacts, A1, A2 apartment zoning, and you are right. We are, the council is waiting for a RFP went out, and we're waiting for a report to come back maybe towards the end of the year. But we had a meeting in Tashikama's committee, and all the council members were able to provide input as to what this RFP should be, and the things you're talking about are the basic information that we asked for before we make this kind of decision because why were the apartments built? Some of them were built for hotel where they actually have a front desk. They have like a unit with no kitchen or a small kitchenette situation. How many parking stalls do they have? So what was the original intent? When was it built? And what are the HOA fees? And also in the HOA fees, which what you're talking about, is that we know that there are a lot of responsibilities that these older apartment buildings are now responsible to fix, whether it can be obvious things like roofs or internal structures. But probably for me, the big one that I heard about is that apartments that are built in Kihei that are 30, 40 years old, they have cesspools, infrastructure kind of repairs that need to get built. And a place that when I did my work with underage drinking and, about beaches and safety of beaches and not having, like all the trash that's there that, kids can play, and you have like, syringes or drugs or whatever, and doing those kind of cleanup of beaches. I also heard that in Kihei, there is a beach that it periodically you can't swim there because of the wastewater that flows into the ocean, right? So those are repairs that condominiums need to get done that are contributing to this, the wastewater or the overflow. And those kinds of expenses need to be looked at before you say, okay, all of these units that we're gonna convert it from short term to long term because we want our residents to live there, and they would have to then, pay for this. And is it going to be affordable? So there's so many hidden costs, Pam, that we want it to be revealed. As a budget chair, I'm concerned about what is the tax implication of making this kind of decision, and who's going to make up for that loss of income, because that's really what we're talking about, right? The bottom line of budgets is what kind of services can we provide our families that live here, and to have safer roads and everything, is part of that discussion. But there's huge tax implications that we need to look at to make sure, that we're going to have, a safe community after we make these kind of, decisions. So Mother's Day, I was sitting around with my friends, and they asked me about this bill that, was recently introduced at that point. And I said, okay, all of you sitting on this table, you're property owners, right? They are.
Right.
And I said, just be prepared that if we make this kind of change, that your property taxes may rise, right? And all of us, good or bad, people talk about Hawaii or Maui County and say our taxes are so low. And I always say that, remember, the reason why our taxes are so low is that we have a robust visitor industry, and they pay for a lot of the services that we say that the visitors use, but it's also, what our residents use daily. And so therefore, that's the community we live in, and how do we all come together? And the implications of this bill has long-term effects that I think as a community and as a council, we need to be sensitive to that before we make a decision. So number one, we need more information before we can make that, decision. Number two is we need to know what these hidden costs are to these apartments, because they are, and understand the history of the buildings that are coming up, and how is that going to impact, the families that we think we're going to, help by having, long-term rentals for these short-term rental facilities. So what are the other solutions?
And that's one of the things that one of my big things, and I'm so glad to hear you say that, and I know that that has been your stance. We've talked about this before too. But also to say, as we look at this, what, as you point out, what are the other solutions? We've been sharing housing solutions and really trying to move forward with some unique solutions with developers and members of the construction industry of Maui. They can rapidly put up housing in other ways that can last 20 to 30 years, meet all the weather and hurricane requirements, wind requirements, fire requirements that are solutions that will outlast some of the trailers and things that are being used or brought in. And now as we look at these units, I think there's also other housing solutions that when we get the study and we see the additional costs of these units, we're going to find building in a number of cases they're going to be cheaper than trying to deal with all of these issues. And what we've been trying to say is continue to look at housing, building, working with our local community now, because we can continue to explore this, but we want to get a jump start on housing. And it dawned on me as you were saying that, Yuki, about, again, how subsidized are real property taxes based on the revenue coming in through the visitor industry. I think we need a really good pie chart. Maybe even before this issue, like just in general, how much the visitor industry is subsidizing and keeping our real property taxes low. And then as we look at this other issue, another pie chart to say, here's what the loss is going to be. It's something really visual because it's something that we talk about, but yet when you listen to testimony, a great part of our community doesn't really connect with how subsidized our living is by the visitor industry.
Yeah. And it is, and then the sentiment of some of the greater community is that we don't want to have so many visitors, or we don't want to have visitors, or there needs to be a balance, which we all can agree. But I will say that we need that. We really need the visitors. That is our prime economic engine, whether we like it or not, whether we like them or not. And I personally feel I appreciate the change in the community with the change with the visitor industry, I guess, who are saying, come and be a part of the community. Help us with doing some work with the Aina and understand what it means and, share the aloha. I mean, all of that, I don't think I ever heard so much of that as I do now. And, And, what I do want to say is that one of the things that I'm hearing from the community, from people who have businesses, is that our visitor industry hasn't come back robust as it would be, and at certain times of the year. And the August 8th wildfire, with the disaster that was going on and the care for the people that lost their homes, is that we were saying, hold off a little bit before you come back. But that message of we are back has not come back. So that people are talking about. I was talking to some people who own short-term rentals, and they say that their occupancy is very low, and they're so used to it being, with this wait list or whatever it was, that, it's not like that. So, there's impacts of what we said after the fire, and people are cautious. People want to be respectful. Visitors want to be respectful in that way, so I think they're choosing to go elsewhere, but we really need them back. They are an economic engine, And I will tell you that I was at a Hawaii State Association of Counties conference 2 weeks ago now, and Walter Dobbs, right? He helped, or he was the president of First Hawaiian Bank.
First Bank,
Yeah, and he was, very involved with the community, politics, and in the middle of his speech, he was talking about, just how he's seen Hawaii evolve and what he's sees in the community. And one statement was so random, but it's true. He said, before you get rid of the visitor industry, make sure that you have an industry to replace it. because that is our prime industry. So it was, here's somebody who's, been with us. He was, he worked with Governor Burns, so that's how long he's been, in working in our community as a young man. And then through First of Line Bank, he rose up to become the president. But through all of that, he's seen a community that has grown, all the challenges that we had, the economic challenges. And so his one statement, it's kind of like, whoa, he kind of, came out of nowhere. But he's absolutely right. You can't get rid of an industry until we know that our people are going to have jobs and be secure, because that is, that's who makes up Hawaii. That's who makes up our community.
Well, that's not true.
Yeah.
Well, and the thing is, we did what we were supposed to do. So if people think about this, what we did, and why we did it, why did we do it? Well, think about when the industry was created. The visitor industry was created to provide higher paying jobs from agriculture back then. It was our diversification plan. And we succeeded so well because when you have an economic engine, you are looking to leverage other economic opportunities to spread that investment to continue to spur. So what did we spur? From the visitor industry, and you and I hear all the time about ag. If we don't think we need the visitor industry for ag, large-scale ag, keeping our bigger farmers selling produce, they're selling a lot of that produce to the visitor industry. If they're not selling it to the visitor industry, they're selling it to restaurants. And we know that the restaurants, again, an industry created off of the visitor industry, we don't have enough people on island to support all of our restaurants. Then we have retail. And, we don't have enough people on island to support all of the retail industry that we've built. And then we have activities. And we have weddings and events. And, we could just go on and on about all of the industries. And we saw this during COVID, when everything was shut down. And the restaurants were buying our agricultural products. The hotels weren't buying the agricultural products. We saw these huge disparities, and how many people were devastated when all of these businesses were shut down due to COVID, and the dynamics changed. And that's what he's saying. And what I'm saying is, if you get a new engine, the new engine will spur different kinds of businesses. Okay, but if we don't have the visitor industry, all of those industries I just mentioned, but we need people to think about all their family and friends who are employed in all of these other industries. And prior to COVID, we were on a track to say, yes, we need to better protect our island. Yes, we need more balance because, at the degree to which we were at, it is really, we need to better manage the visitor industry. We need to look at the genetic tourism. And we're doing great things in all those arenas. And, of course, COVID hampered that. But coming out of COVID, we were getting back to working on all of that. But think of the tremendous job loss. If people could wave their magic wand and the visitor industry ended, think of the devastation and hurt for all those other industries and all those people employed by all those industries, which are all our friends and families. And through the wildfires, we talk about and really have a deep, deep understanding of how important it is to keep Maui local and to help our friends and family stay here. And imagine the devastation that would cause. I remember a graphic when people didn't support HCNS that kept so much of our land green, who had the people who knew how to respond to wildfires, who made sure that the lands were managed in a way there were fire breaks and well controlled. But there was a graphic when people wanted to talk about cane burning that showed that if we continued cane burning, we were going to have a really ugly, dry, desolate Maui. And sadly, with the wildfires and not having that greenery and not having those breaks and having an extraordinary time with the people with the equipment would come and rush to our aid and help the police
Yeah.
and the firefighters. We've
They
seen
were our-
devastation
they were
like
our-
the which. Yeah,
They were our
they-
own mini fire department, right? That
That's
they would
right.
they would help us, you know.
They came in and knew how to manage fires. Yeah.
Yeah, that's how they burned their clean. But they also helped us if there were fires elsewhere, you know.
That's right.
Yeah,
And
so,
we have to look at and say there are things that we sometimes demonize, and we don't think far enough out on what the implications of losing them would be.
mhm.
And with the business industry, the implications would be we're losing businesses right now just with the reduced numbers we're seeing.
Yeah,
It's devastating. Right now, we're losing businesses. A lot of businesses are going out quietly.
yeah,
But
yeah.
they're going out.
So,
We have to
Pat,
understand the broader impact.
so you're giving me a way to say something that I really want to see. I want to say
Yeah.
is if you don't mind, that
Oh, please.
after the wildfire, this is about business. Sneh Patel was part of, or he presented at a committee, the Economic Resource Committee, Economic Resource Redevelopment Committee, which is by DBED and Office of Economic, or OED, put this together with about 100 different businesses. You were part of it. And Sneh Patel's committee was talking about helping small businesses, right? Because he's Lahaina Town Action Committee.
Yeah.
And I believe that the county and the state have not given enough resources to help the small businesses come back. When I went to
Absolutely not.
Washington, D.C. in October, I asked our congressional people, can you forgive the COVID loans that people made, to SBA or whatever? And I was told, no, they cannot do it. I said, oh, of course, federal government has the sweep of the whole nation. So if they forgave just Maui or Lahaina on COVID loans, they would have to do it for the whole nation. Okay, so that didn't work. But what Sneh Patel reported, he said that what we need to do, and he recommends to come up with a temporary structure, which is like a huge tent, you can put 100 small businesses in it, and create a opportunity for them to start their businesses again. Because until Front Street comes back, a lot of them were on Front Street. They have nowhere to, do their business. So Sneh Patel, I think he also spoke at that oversight congressional committee that came with Ed Case and Jill Tokuda were there in this 4-member panel that were asking questions of the mayor and the cultural aspect and everything that happened during the debris cleanup. And Sneh Patel was also on that panel, but he advocates for small businesses. But I really like his idea that we should do more for small businesses. We focus where we needed to focus, which is housing for the people that were displaced. And what we've learned is the wildfires, with all the people that we put in hotels and found housing for, after they, after they lost, really sadly everything with that fire on October the 8th.
Yeah.
So we're helping finding temporary housing for the people that we need to. But we need to also add on to this list the small businesses that are struggling just to stay alive or stay in Maui.
We have been championing this. Yeah, there's so many great ideas, and the other thing is the Maui Chamber of Commerce. There's so much money being put into social services right now, and we have so funded that. But we have a foundation, the Maui Chamber of Commerce Foundation. We let the county know. We worked and did many amazing projects under Mayor Mike Victorino when COVID hit, like other nonprofits, and we got money out. The money that came through the governor went out through MEO and Maui Economic Development Board as awards. And at the time, they said, we didn't realize the chamber had a foundation. So we've been very clear on that. But we are raising money to help the businesses. And, we say, and we recently partnered with American Express on the program that helped give 100 businesses $5,000. But the money they need is much greater than that to pivot.
Yeah.
And it's greater than that to sustain what they need to sustain. So we're really trying to educate people that through the Chamber of Commerce Foundation, we can get out big grants to businesses, and we're working on programs to try and bring more money in and say, look, this, we know how to do this, and we know where the needs are. And, of course, the focus is also on those directly impacted by the wildfires. So we have the funding mechanism of the foundation, and to help, look at, first and foremost, those directly impacted by the wildfire. And then the other businesses who, again, through, just the down economy are struggling and need help. So we're ready.
Yeah.
We stand ready.
Good.
I'm so sorry. We do have another guest, so we're going to have to end.
Okay.
But we'll continue the
let's
conversation.
Talk further. I really want to talk about tiered tax rates with you.
Yeah.
PT.
I know we're going to set up a meeting with Amber. We have some great ideas on tiered tax rates and also ways to protect local
before you leave me, I just want to make a quick statement that I'm looking at asking the legislature to repeal the cesspool septic conversion for the year 2050. 2050 is a year the legislature often uses for things, that they have to plan for the future. But I want us to look at that because it's causing so much anxiety and catastrophe within the community of people who can't afford to pay the, $20, $30, $40, $50,000 to do this conversion. But anyway, I'm going to end with that because there's more to come. Please talk to me again on this. I'm working on it.
We will. We'll invite you back. We'll continue on.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time. Thank you.
Okay. Bye, Pam.
Have a great day. Aloha. Always great to have Council Member Sugimura on. Yuki is a treasure. I'm sure if you live up country, she has very open policy on meeting with people, is always out and about in the community. And she loves hearing your ideas and concerns, right? She's very open to hearing everything and loves strategizing with people on ideas. I know Gary is going to reach out and get a hold of Leinani Hong and see if Leinani's available. And while he's doing that, I'd like to take a moment to tell you a little bit about She Would Go, which is her business. It is a Wahine-owned business creating authentic and handcrafted items celebrating Hawaiian culture. From all sorts of accessories to wooden home goods, She Would Go creates meaningful products for Hawaiians to reconnect with their heritage. Each piece reflects the culture and traditions of Hawaii and is designed so that you can be inspired by having a piece of our culture in your holly, in your wardrobe, as one of your accessories. I just love that because this is the time. We are in a great renaissance where we are so proud. We have amazing Hawaiian designers and jewelers and home decor. We can really live our culture in a new way. We've watched this kind of emerge over the last decade, and it's so much fun to have these great pieces. And they have worked on educational tools supporting learning Olelo Hawaii, but are also wanting for each of us to incorporate Mea Hawaii into our own everyday lives. So no matter where you live in Hawaii or not, you can know the importance of knowing your culture and connecting your culture and your home, and it'll never be forgotten. So is Leinani available, Gary?
Yes, she is.
Hi, good morning. Hi, good morning, Leinani. I was just introducing you. How are you this morning?
I'm good. Nice to be on with you guys.
Oh, so great to have you on the show. I was just telling everybody about some of your inspiration for She Would Go. Can you share a little bit more about, really your mission? I think is more what I'm sharing about how we can all incorporate more of our culture and island state in our lives and just get to enjoy wearing it and the decor. But how did you come up with this, and how long have you been doing this business now?
Well, I am a mom of three. I guess I'll just put that out there.
Yes.
So really,
That's a big job.
how this business came about is really about my ohana, and I guess I would say that two of my keiki are in the Hawaiian immersion program here on Maui, and once we knew that that was a part of our journey, I really wanted to create an environment around them that really supported and immersed them in not just the language, but also the culture. And I wanted to create things, I love the cute stuff from Ross, but I really wanted to create things around my house that you would see or use daily, but also had the touch of, things we want to share with them, things we value, things we say. And that's really, really kind of what it's about. That mission is to like perpetuate Hawaiian culture, to perpetuate the Hawaiian language, just to support those things. And for any ohana here who kind of wants that, I wanted to create things that they could use daily.
I think that that's phenomenal. So tell people a little bit about the breadth of the type of products that you create and how you are and what kinds of words or symbolism, how are you through your creative process incorporating more of our language and culture within these products that people will either wear or have in their home?
So it's definitely grown as far as the products we carry. We recently kind of expanded into low layer clothing, but a lot of it started with home decor kind of items, home goods, and that kind of was because we had just bought. We were blessed to buy our own home back in 2020, so we've kind of been doing this for a bit, starting with trying to create, like I said, wording and things that we wanted to incorporate and just show in our house. So things like aloha is spoken here, or even olelo no eo that we wanted to teach or show our family, or just stuff that we felt really represented us. And I think everybody kind of has their own thing for that, and just wanting to see that, because you don't see that really around much. So it kind of started from there. So just different home goods, whether it be a cutting board or a bento box or a flask. And as I said, my kids are in Hawaiian immersion, so we did a lot of learning activities so that families, not just children, but families could also learn and be supported on their own journey of just incorporating some Hawaiian language into their lives. And then from that, we kind of grew and just started to do different things of Hawaiian culture with accessories, whether it be looking like traditional Hawaiian quilt designs, or even things that that are important to our culture, whether it be kalo or iwa, and just starting to incorporate those things, and it kind of just carried on throughout the rest of our product.
I think that's phenomenal. And I was just saying, just before you come on, it's a real renaissance going on right now. This is a time when people are really enjoying products from Hawaii, sharing our culture, just for the joy of doing it for ourselves, but also, of course, for others that are in our home or with us every day, that they get to enjoy as well. How are you finding people are reacting to these amazing products?
Well, thank you. So true. I think people, like I said, I think there was a need for it. First, I guess we kind of saw with Olelo Hawaii just having a need for that. Like when I went out and went shopping, I really realized, like, wow, okay, I want things in my home, but I want it to have our Hawaiian culture in there, and I wasn't seeing it, and I really felt like, you know what, I guess I'm going to have to make those things, right? So, I think there's a lot of that. I think there's a lot of people feeling that same way and just wanting to have those kind of items, and it's just so special, like I said, like even if you're not even if you're no longer living in Hawaii, you still want to have that connection to home, right? So having those kind of items kind of has that reminder, kind of gives you that same feeling, knowing where you're from, knowing a part of who you are. So I think it's really important.
I agree, and I think that there's a huge market for it. And I also think it connects people from Hawaii who, for whatever reason, sadly have, maybe not sadly, maybe they wanted to move somewhere else, but still want that connection with home. And others who have moved but still want that connection with home. I think it will give those things in their home. That would be really nice to have. So, also such great gifts. Where can people find your products? How can they buy them?
So currently our products are online on our website. There has been some places here on Maui that also carry just a couple of our products, whether it be earrings or smaller products. But, as far as Maui and how businesses have been going and trying to stay afloat after the fires, I'm not sure if everybody has had the capacity to keep everything in stock. To keep everything on that they used to carry.
Yeah.
So we have had to pivot too. So a lot of it we've kind of shifted to online.
And what's your online address?
Sorry. Yeah. And then as well as we try to do community markets and events here.
1 minute, Pam.
That's also an option.
Thank you. Okay, so we've got, before we leave, everybody, please let us know where we can find you online.
Oh, sorry. So my website is wood.com.
Awesome. Okay, and we will look for you and does it say on your website where they can find you in the community?
Yes, it does.
Okay, great. Well, I'm sorry we're out of time this morning, but I want everybody to thank you so much for joining us. I'm so glad to have you on the show, Leinani. I know it's so quick, and I'm so sorry we're out of time and have to end the show. But please, everybody, visit SheWoodGo.com. See the amazing products that she offers. I just love when I have people react to the things that I have in my home, that my people of Hawaii and aloha, those are messages that I cherish. And I think living here, especially when guests come over, it just reminds them that they're in a very special place.